Hey, hello guys, Fede here again with another video. And after a long time of not making a video, I believe it's been like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, I finally got the time to sit down here in my living room and do a video. And I actually saw the, it's not a book tag, but I saw a pretty similar video done by this booktuber. I really don't remember the name right now, but I thought that it was a really fun concept, right? The top 10 books of the year so far. Now this year I've read almost 80 books so far, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna hit the 100 number. I'm pretty sure about that. So I wanted to make a top 10 of the list so far because on my TBR for the year, for this year 2023, I have some pretty heavy hitters. I'm about to read next month, November, War and Peace, and the second book in the Sun Eater series, Howling Dark. And also I'm going to read Magician Master by Raymond E. Feist and some other ones. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to make this list now just to see if it changes by the end of the year. So let's just go ahead and dive right in with the number 10 on the list. So number 10, I have this monster edition. I don't know if you will call it like an omnibus because that format is not used in Europe. And yeah, this is the Meta Barons by Jodorowsky and Jimenez, which this will serve like a prequel to the Incal, El Incal of Jodorowsky's Incal, which is right behind me. I don't know if you can see it. But yeah, I read this book for the first time this year, at the beginning of this year actually, in January. And this tells the story of the Meta Baron that you meet in the Incal, but also the family's history. How did the Meta Barons start? How did that lineage like that oligarchy, or I don't know how you classify the Meta Barons, but the Meta Baron that we met in the Incal, that's the last one. That's the last Meta Baron. That's his title and whatever, right? But there were other Meta Barons in the past, and this tells the story of his father, his grandfather, grandmother, and this being a Jodorowsky book, you're gonna have some pretty crazy ideas here, no doubt, and also a lot of sex, incest. He likes that for some reason, but in any case, this is a pretty cool sci-fi story, man. And I think that if you've read the Incal, and if you like the Incal, which not everyone does, I liked it, and because I really liked Jodorowsky's movies and comics, graphic novels, his other stuffs, his psycho magic and whatever, and books like prose books. I really don't like them, but graphic novels, movies, I love them. I love them. They're so weird and interesting. And yeah, if you have a chance to read the Meta Barons, if you already read the Incal, go ahead and read it. It's a no-brainer. This is the Spanish version. So the name of the Spanish version is La Casta de los Meta Varones. In English, I'm guessing it's like the story of the Meta Barons. I really don't know. I don't know which is the title, but yeah, it's like 600 pages long. It's a thick book, man. It's beautiful. Oh my God, I'm blanking out here. The drawings by Jimenez are something else. Now this, wasn't drawn by Mobius, but still, it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. The Meta Barons, number 10. Now let's just go ahead and jump to number 1. And this one, this is and I mentioned it on the Discord, on Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews Discord, which is pretty great. I haven't been so active in the last few weeks, as I said, but I want to get back to it. And when I was reading it, Amygdalatropolis by B.R. Yeager. Um, I was saying to the people there that this is a messed up book. This is basically the story of, I mean, the protagonist is anonymous, right? You don't really know his name, a part of his username that he uses in an online forum. Uh, the site, the forum, the page that he uses is, you can think of it as like a 4chan or 8chan. If you know what that is, you'll know immediately. And how that those pages can corrupt so much the sensibility of some people. I'm not saying everyone, but for the mentally weak-minded or whatever, it can, and it does. And the way the prose is written is almost, um, look at this. So every chapter has some of these variables. It's like, I don't know if I'm pointing right at the camera, like the entrance for the blog and the protagonist, what's his thinking, what's his writing, what he thinks of maybe a gore video that was sent to the forum, or a decapitation from ISIS or whatever. But you also get the glimpse, besides the online persona that he has, you also get the glimpse of his real life, like his room and his mother and his family, and how he interacts with them, which is not it's not a lot, but it's really interesting and it's really sad. And I mean, to be honest, if you are like in a depression state, or if you're sad right now, if you don't feel, I don't want to say happy, but if you don't feel okay, I wouldn't recommend this book to you at all. This will make things worse. This is a tough book, but I really love, I did like the book. I don't want to say I loved it because it's horrible, but it was pretty interesting, and it's really short. It's like 150 pages by the end. But yeah, man, this is something else. Amygdalatropolis by B.R. Yeager, great book. This is number 9. Now, number 8, we have a thick motherfucker over here, which is The Catholic School by Eduardo Albinati, Italian guy. Its original title is Scuola Cattolica, and yeah, it's just what it sounds. It's the story of the writer when he was attending a Catholic school back in the 60s, in the mid 20th century, right? But what gave origin to this book, it was really interesting as well to me. It was, so when he was at school, some of his, I mean, they weren't in his like group. I don't know how to say that in English, like his grade, but they were of grade higher than he was. And those men, they were like 15, 16, whatever. They kidnapped 2 girls. They raped them for days, and raped them and raped them and raped them until one of the girls died. And one of them survived. She escaped, and that's how they found out about the crime. Now the men were arrested and whatever, but that was the context. That was the I want to say the what sparked the author to write this book, Scuola Cattolica. And I mean, this is over 1,000 pages long. This is like 1,300 pages long, and as you can see, it's severely annotated by me. And the act itself, the violence itself of that event, the violation, the raping, and all of that, the kidnapping, happens in like just a few pages. I want to say 10 pages at the most. But the rest of the work, it's basically like an X-ray of the Italian society of the 20th century. It's great. It really analyzes society from a man's point of view, right? And for me, a man reading this, it's pretty interesting. What ideas did he have when he was younger, and what were the sins that were charged upon, or what was he thinking when, because this school that he was going, he was only a men's school, right? There were only men around him. So what happens when you get to puberty and adolescence and these sexual urges? You start to have sexual desires, as every human being does, but you're surrounded by men only. So how do you adapt to that? And when you see a woman, how do you react to that? So it's really, really interesting, this book. I know it's a big read, a big commitment, 1,300 pages, but if you can read this, I mean, I myself, I was raised Catholic, of course. I mean, I live in Mexico. Of course, I was raised Catholic. There's no other way here, basically, but I'm not a Catholic. I don't practice religion or anything like that, but I share some of his values inevitably because that's what how I was raised, right? So if you feel in any way that you can have a connection with the story, I suggest to read it. I know it's a long book, but it's worth it. And I know it's nonfiction and everything, but yeah, it's great. The Catholic School by Eduardo Venati. This is number 8. Now for number 7. Number 7 is the Magic Mountain. Yes, by Thomas Mann. Thomas Mann, The Magic Mountain. Now this is a classic that I wanted to read for years now, and it's a thick book. And here you won't see it as a thick book, but this how do you say it in English? This publishing house, right? That's how you say it. This publishing house, it's very cheap compared to other publishing houses. This is funded by the state partially, and yeah, it's pretty cheap, but the font of the pages is really small. So that's what you get. I mean, if you want to read a classic, you just buy it in this edition, and if you liked it, you can buy an expensive one. But yeah, Thomas Mann, I don't really know if I should talk much about this. This is a classic. I feel stupid talking about classics because I feel like everybody knows them. So really quickly, this is the story of a young man, getting out of the army and going with his cousin. His cousin is staying at a medical facility in a mountain. So there's some other people there, young people. That everyone has a disease or a mental disease, most commonly. There's a lot of crazy people out there. And when the protagonists arrive, he feels like an outsider, right? But as time develops, and the prose in this book is incredible, because at the beginning, time passes slowly. You can read pages and pages and pages, and you realize that in their time, it has only been like an hour or 2 hours or whatever. But after the half of the book, you start realizing that the protagonist is starting to become one of them, right? He wants to stay in the mountain, and time flies by. I mean, you read a couple of pages, and years have gone by, and the protagonist is barely self-aware of that. So it has a deeper meaning. I wish I could explain it better to you in English, but if you can read The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, you should read it. It's great. It's a big book, but it goes by like that. It reads really fast, even though it's a classic. But yeah, if you can read The Magic Mountain, Thomas Mann, read it. This is number 7. All right, let's go with number 6 now. Now, number 6. Number 6 is a sequel that I didn't even know it existed. It's a sequel to Kill a Mockingbird, which is Go Set a Watchman. And I actually got this book from a yard sale. I was looking for books. And as I was reading the back cover, well, not this back cover, but the inside of the back cover, I don't know how you call it in English. I realized that this was a sequel To Kill a Mockingbird, with the girl of To Kill a Mockingbird. It's already going to college, or already an adult, and she goes back to the town, right? But now she goes back with new eyes, with new. She's able to detect new prejudices, and in the people of her life, her father, her uh, family. I don't even remember if the father is still alive, but so this is one of the best books that I've read this year, because this really changes the perspective of the first book, To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, on that book, it was a more innocent view of a racist society, and here you get the reality of it. I mean, if you thought that To Kill a Mockingbird was hard, this book is harder and grittier, mm, but it's helpful as well. At the end, it gives hope. I don't want to spoil the plot, and I know this is a classic book still. I mean, I didn't know about the existence even of this book. That To Kill a Mockingbird had a sequel. I mean, you read To Kill a Mockingbird in school, and you think that's it. You get the message of racism and white power and whatever, and that's it. You don't really research for more when you're in school. But I'm glad that I found this book, or that it found me, and yeah, you should read it. It's really great. Now, where are we now? Number five, I believe. Number five is under. I really don't know the name for this book in English either, but the literal translation will be Under the Volcano by Malcolm Lowry. Now, this year I read by James Joyce. I read the Ulysses, right, or Ulises in Spanish, and I know that's a difficult book. I mean, it felt difficult to me, certainly. So that book, if you don't know, that happens in one day. The Ulysses by James Joyce. So when I got this recommended to me by a friend, he said that this book happened in one day as well, but that it happened in Mexico, in Cuernavaca, and that it happened in the Day of the Dead, El Dia de Muertos. So that's a big tradition that we have here, celebration of the dead. And this book is written from the perspective of an Englishman, right? A tourist that he's saying in Cuernavaca, Mexico. So he's recalling his relationship and what he lost in that past relationship, and what he wants to recover, or even if he wants to do that, right? Because he's just depressed. I mean, I don't know why, but I liked books that are sad, depressing, and nihilistic until some point. But this is not that long, as in compared to the Ulysses. This is like, well, in Spanish, it's like 500 pages long, so it's not that long, and it's a really good story. It has pretty readable prose. It's not pompous or bombastic or whatever, which I don't mind, by the way. I know some people do, but I don't mind. But yeah, if you can read Under the Volcano by Malcolm Lowry, this will be a great read. I know this is literary fiction, and some of you read a lot of fantasy, but this book is pretty interesting because the narrative is happening in the Day of the Dead, right? So you have sometimes this magical realism thing of this foreigner, this tourist, being contaminated by the culture, and up until some point as accepting it, and how, I mean, I'm not going to spoil that part to you, because that's really interesting, but you should read it. Under the Volcano, Malcolm Lowry. Read it now. This is a great book. Okay, so let's go to some fantasy now. Let's go to number 4. And number four is gonna be The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now, this is not a big surprise. I read this year, and of course, this is a great book. Which it was a surprise to me because before I read this book, a friend of mine told me, "Oh, you're either gonna like the book, or you're either gonna hate it." But as I was doing some research, I didn't find a lot of like haters or to this book. It was all praises, and they were not wrong. I mean, when I finished reading the story of Quoth or Kvoth or however you say the name of the protagonist, I immediately wanted to read the second book, but I haven't been able to find a copy for the Wise Man's Fear in mass paperback. There's another in like regular paperback, but it won't fit in my. I mean, it will fit, but it won't match the this spine that I already have. So I know that's a bit idiotic, but that's the main reason why I haven't read the second book. But yeah, you already know the story of The Name of the Wind, a young magician apprentice that goes to school, and you see his adventures there at school, his romantic endeavors, and yeah, this is not. I mean, and I love this kind of book, right? And that when the protagonist itself himself is the one telling the story to the reader, right? So this is a narrative told by the King Killer, which that's his nickname. That's the name of the series, the King Killer Chronicles. And yeah, I really don't know what else to say. I feel like every one of you already knows this book, so I feel stupid doing it. But yeah, The Name of the Wind. This is in number four of the top 10 this year. Now let's go with number three. Number three. It's another fantasy bigger than The Name of the Wind, and it's Awards of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, The Sandman. So yeah, fun fact. I wasn't planning on reading this book or this series anymore or this author anymore because I really didn't like the Way of Kings, the first book in the series of the Stormlight Archive. I really didn't like that book at all, and what made me read this book is a lot of people has a lot of praise for the second book for Words of Radiance, and yeah, I really loved the book. But what made the reading bearable to me was, and I know this is a sin for some people, I was skipping the prologue. I mean, no, not the prologue. The interludes. I was skipping them, and whenever I will skip a prologue, an interlude, I will just go to my phone or computer or whatever, and look for a summary of that interlude in specific. And to be honest, I'm glad I did that because I really didn't miss much. I'm not really into the Cosmere. I really don't want to know all the Easter eggs and all that. So for me, it's better to skip the interludes and get right into the story and read a summary of the interludes once I go past them. But yeah, this is a great book. It's a long book as well, but that's usually the case with fantasy epics, and I'm not mad about it. Yeah, this is the mass paperback. It's really cheap. I'm surprised that this is only like $10, $11, and it's almost like 300, 1,300 pages as well. But yeah, this is a great book. You already know that. The Words of Radiance. Now let's go with the top two now. Now number two, it's literary fiction, medieval setting novel written by Otessa Mosfeg, or Mosfeg, whatever. La Bona is the book. La Bona. And yeah, this is a medieval story of a town that, as any medieval town, is not wealthy. There's diseases, there's lack of food, lack of water, lack of everything, right? That's just how the medieval times were in Europe. And this tells the story of a deformed child and how he interacts with his father and with the head of the city. I mean, not city, but the town there, and what he does to get into that life. But the book is pretty brutal in portraying the medieval life, right? I believe I spoke of this book before in this channel. I really don't remember. So if there's a book for this, you can find it. I mean, if there's a video, you can find it. But yeah, La Bona, and it's really short as well. It's like 300 pages most, and it has a big font and really big margins as well, so you can read this easily, like in a couple of days. I know that they are adapting another novel by this author named Eileen, I believe, and A24 is adapting that, which is fun because when I was reading this, I was like, man, this looks like I mean, this reads like an A24 movie. It's weird, it's daunting, it's I don't know, it just fits the vibe of that producing house. But yeah, maybe they'll adapt this book sometime. So yeah, La Bona, this is a great book, man. You gotta read it. Oh my god. Oh shit. Now, book number 1 of the year so far is going to be science fiction, as well as the initial spot, the 10th spot. But this is, you probably guessed this already, Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. Now, this is book number 1 of the Sun Eater series. I really don't know if I already did a video on this or not. I've been all over the place these last few weeks. Believe me, I really don't know where I am right now. So yeah, this is book number 1. I already read this month the first novella, The Lesser Devil, where the brother of the protagonist here is the protagonist of the novella, Crispin. So that's a good one. That was a good one, and I'm looking forward to November to start the second book, as I said. So yeah, this is a science fiction novel, and that it was heavily and I don't know. I was watching a video a few days ago of a booktuber that read this book, Empire of Silence, and he said that he wasn't able to figure out why some people compare this book to Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune. And I was baffled when I read this because it's clearly inspired by Dune. I mean, the first third of the book, that's basically Dune. So, and that was a worry that I had when I was reading this for the first time. I was just thinking to myself, man, is this just going to be a copy of Dune or what? But no, then it goes its own way and whatever. But I can't understand how you, if you have read Dune, and then you read this book, Empire of Silence, how you're not able to see the similarities there or the inspiration or whatever. It's clearly inspired by Dune and some other science fiction works as well. But yeah, that commentary seemed really odd to me. It seems like they really didn't read Dune in the past or whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is a great book. It's in my top 1. This is the best book I've read this year. And I've read some pretty amazing books this year. So maybe at the end of the year or at the beginning of January, I will do another list of this just to see if anything has changed. But yeah, so far this list seems pretty solid to me. Maybe it will change if I manage to finish the War and Peace by Tolstoy or Howling Dark by Christopher Rocchio. Maybe that will change places here and there. I don't know. But yeah, this was my top 10 list. I know this was a long video. I'm sorry for speaking too much, and have a good day.